Welcome to the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. I'm your host, Sara Miley, an IFS-informed trauma recovery coach. This episode's mission is to diminish stigmas through my personal journey, to bring resources to the trauma community, and to feature services that I offer to support survivors around the globe. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome back to the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. I'm your host, Sara. I'm an IFS-informed trauma recovery coach, and I'm so glad to be back after a summer break. So as you can see, I decided to stay here on the platform that we already have with Trauma Survivorhood, gave it a new look, gave it a logo, and now it has its own website as well, traumasurvivorhoodpodcast.com. It'll take you to the podcast page on my private practice website, Full Circle Wellspring. So I'm so excited to be back here after the long summer break. How was summer for everyone? If you are in the top half of the globe, it was summertime for you. So I hope you had some time away, maybe some time with friends and family, maybe got out, did a little traveling, maybe some beach, some hikes. I don't know what it's like in your area where you are. We do have listeners from all over the world. But here I'm in the New England area in the United States of America, and we are starting to move our way into fall. Leaves have not started to change yet. We don't have that beautiful foliage, but we're getting there. Before we jump into fall, we're still kind of getting that end of summer kind of humidity and heat that's coming. It's a little bit rainy today, but I did enjoy my summer as well. I appreciated being able to take the break, but I'm also super glad to be back here. I was able to travel this summer. I went down to the south, saw a lot of friends, saw a lot of family, and then wiggled my way back up north, stopped and saw some more family. I was gone for pretty much the whole month of July. My clients came with me, which was super fun. So we were on a little road trip together. And then I've been back here since August, and I have been working on some really big things. And today I'm going to go ahead and launch those right here for you guys, all of the listeners and all my clients and everyone who might be watching on YouTube as well. So let's jump in. So what I've been working on, some of you might have noticed that I've changed some of my languaging on the website to call myself a coachsultant now. So what does that actually mean? So if you know the archetypes, you can Google these. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm a pretty solid mix between a maven and a connector. So I'm just that person who knows a lot of random stuff and a lot of specific stuff. I'm kind of the person that has been in a lot of fields of work, random work. People are always like, wow, you've done a lot of things with your life. I have navigated a lot of very complex legal system, insurance issues. I read body language. I've studied just tons and tons of things. I love learning. So if I don't know the answer to something, I'm going to figure it out for sure. I've tried tons of modalities, tons of outlets. I'm just at this place in my life, just with my family and my finances and my career and what I do, that I'm able to explore and do a lot of different things, spend the money to try modalities that have worked, haven't worked in the healing world, in the spiritual world, in the physical world. I'm always ready to try that next thing. I know budgeting, I know day trading, I just know a lot of random stuff. However, when I apply all of what I know, so I love helping people. Let's start there. I love helping people solve problems. So for people who need a unique way or kind of this out of box thinking, I'd be your girl, right? That's like the consultant in me that's like, oh, I've got this really great thing. You should definitely try this, right? But my heart is to work with trauma survivors. And that's where being a coach for me really thrives, because I may know stuff. I might even be an expert in certain things, although I don't claim to be an expert in too many things. But the expert for a trauma survivor is always going to be themselves. And so if I'm not your full expert, I also can't be your full lifestyle consultant. I can't tell you how to shape your world and what's going to work for you, right? I can give you a lot of ideas, a lot of options. We can talk through some things that you might be interested in trying and ways that you might be able to try them. Maybe there's some scheduling or financial limitations to some things. Maybe there's just a new regimen that you might need to implement. A lot of my female clients struggle also due to like hormonal issues on top of a lot of anxiety and depression that they carry from their trauma. And we see that there's like this weird mix of like medical, somatic, spiritual, all mixed together with the emotional and psychological well-being of a trauma survivor. It doesn't just end with their trauma. It's what happened inside of them, inside of their brain, inside of their body, and what got stifled in their spirit as well. So when I'm working with a client, one of my favorite parts, aside from doing IFS guidance, because that is still one of my favorites, but I love it when they're working on a very particular problem and they hear a couple of ideas and they're like, okay, now I have a checklist. Now I have this box. Now I've got these goals that I'm going to set around this thing and I'm going to try to implement X, Y, and Z. That's great. And like I see their light bulbs going off. And that's a great moment for me because I've been able to kind of walk alongside them as we've spent the time together, kind of figuring out maybe some things that work, right? And I might throw out 8 options and they might only like 2 or 3 of them. The other ones, there's an aversion to one, or they've tried something, 20 years ago, or no, that reminds me of something my mom used to tell me I needed to do. Like that's triggering. That's fine. So let's X those ones off and let's put these guys in a box and let's try them, right? And so I love those light bulb moments. It really it energizes me and it brings light bulbs to me in like areas of my life that I could even continue to work on. So with that said, I'm very excited today to launch and officially introduce you to the personalized trauma healing system. This is a trademarked, curated lifestyle design, specifically a program for trauma survivors. This is utilizing self care and self focus to allow them ease and joy in thriving, even while they are inside of their healing journey. So I've designed this program around what I call pillars of lifestyle design, right? So we're talking about psychological well being, emotional health, sleep, eating, activity, career goals, dreams, finances, time management, productivity, accountability, mindfulness, just so many different pillars, right? There's tons and tons and tons of them. And I've worked really hard to put together this program with this idea that if we can find areas just inside of lifestyle design while you're healing from your trauma, right? We can find places that we can work harder on. Say it's sleep, right? Trauma survivors, I'm going to throw that one out there. Trauma survivors tend to struggle a lot in their sleep, right? There's either nightmares or there's a lot of whirling, anxious thoughts. They can't get to sleep or they wake up in the middle of the night panicking. Um, and then that sets their whole next day off, right? And they wake up in the morning and now they're stressed and their brain is going and all these different things, right? So either that or the other side of things, right? If they struggle with depression, where they might be sleeping a lot and then their body is starting to kind of shut down because they're sleeping way too much and they're not out doing activity and, working toward other goals, right? And sleep has kind of become almost an unhealthy coping skill, but generally it's a coping skill that's considered very positive, right? If we can attack this pillar of sleep and we can figure out how to control and manage this one particular pillar of sleep, it can make changes in your entire day to day, your well being, working on other things beyond that, like personal growth or education, or maybe it's time for a career change, maybe it's time for a move. But for a trauma survivor, transition is really, really difficult, right? And so, what can we work on while you are inside the program of personalized trauma healing system, right? And what I've designed is a couple of great things, and I want to share those with you today. Firstly, just launched less than 12 hours ago, is www.personalizedtraumahealingsystem.com. And no, I did not design a brand new website for it, although I may in the future, but it will link you back to Full Circle Wellspring, where I have a page set up specifically for this. So there's going to be videos and blurbs, tons of information about what is this system, what is this program, what is my vision and mission for this program to utilize for trauma survivors. Also, beyond that, this program has a few options. If you are a mental health practitioner, if you are a spiritual guru, a guide, another coach, some type of practitioner, this program is also for you to be able to learn to implement with your clients if you're interested. So if you check out personalizedtraumahealingsystem.com, all these links will be below in the show notes. You're also going to see that there's a personalized assessment there. And I've designed that specifically so you can kind of get a look at what kinds of pillars and what kinds of avenues of lifestyle design this system, this program is going to use. It also will allow you to kind of take a look, have some introspective thinking, and do some pondering for yourself about where you are in specific pillars. And at the end, it's going to share with you lots of different options that you can choose. And I'm just going to talk a little bit for just a second about those right now. So firstly, starting in just a couple of weeks, October 11th, a couple more options in October, an option in November and December because of the holidays, and a couple of options in January. There's going to be some free webinars, just 30-minute webinars with a short Q&A afterwards. And this webinar is really going to show you the science behind the vision behind the science, and going to explain to you a little bit more about what you can learn further with the personalized trauma healing system. The other options beyond that, available immediately, are actually a 12-week personalized package. So this would be you and I as a trauma survivor working together with me on curated lifestyle design. And the package is really extensive. There's a lot of opportunity, and it's really basically working one-on-one with me as like an accountability partner, as a coach, as a guide. We're using tons of assessment, lots of data-driven results that we're gonna be seeing. And I'm really excited because the 12-week package is really a commitment. I'm making the commitment to you because it's a lot of time involved and a lot of time behind the scenes getting your personalized system prepared for you. But it's a lot of time commitment for yourself as well. It's really a deep dive for you to go further into areas of your life, pillars of your life that might be holding you back, or areas where you have deficit or where you have struggles or obstacles. You have a lot of trauma triggers in a particular area, and you really are ready to see some really solid growth in those areas. We're going to dive deep together in those 12 weeks and really work through a lot of those things. Some of it along the lines of trauma coaching, absolutely, right? Especially if it's a trigger or if it's an old generational trauma that's kind of picking up, that is just kind of blocking you from really growing. But it's also helping you to find a routine and a system, a self-care regimen, like I say a lot in podcasts, that will allow you to feel more stable and more joy and more ease while you are continuing your healing journey, right? The other great option, it's coming in February. I didn't want to do it in the last quarter of the year because of the holidays and the new year. And then in January, we kind of get in that slump. So we have plenty of time to prepare, but there is going to be a 12-week masterclass available starting in February. They are going to be recorded. So if you join the masterclass and you're not able to be live for every single one, that's okay. They're going to be sent out every week. There's a lot of freebies that come with it as well, too. There's a few assessments that are going to be available for anyone who takes the masterclass. The 12-week masterclass is going to be designed not just for the trauma survivors who want to learn more about areas that they can grow, and they might want to get some science behind, window of capacity. We're going to talk about polyvagal. It's also for mental health professionals and other practitioners. So this would be where you could come to the masterclass to learn more about the program. I'm also going to be starting private consulting as well. And the private consulting is going to give me an opportunity to work one-on-one with either small businesses, larger corporations, working on trauma-informed care and teaching some of the ideas behind the personalized trauma healing system. So I welcome you to check those out. The introductory rates for the 12-week masterclass and the 12-week private packages are going to end December 31st, 2023. So if you're interested in the masterclass, you're going to want to sign up before then, take advantage of the discount. And the private packages are going to be available from now till the end of the year at a discounted rate. And then in January, they're going to go back up to their planned rate for the ongoing future. I'm so excited to be able to bring this program and this system to the world. This is kind of like a thing I've been pregnant with, an idea, a vision, a mission that I've had for a very long time. All of my lived experience and all of my learned experience and the ongoing learned experience and the ability for me to impactfully invest my time and my energy into trauma survivors in this way is really exciting to me. So if you want to jump into a free webinar, that's excellent. If you wanted to email me with specific questions or even set up a 30-minute free private consult with me, I do still do a 30-minute connection call. So those are available as well if you wanted to chat about this, or if you're not quite sure because the webinar isn't available yet, but you might want to get started with the package, you're more than welcome to either private message me via email. That link is going to be below as well, and the free connection call available as well. So before we jump into the future of the Trauma Survivorhood podcast, I just want to remind you to like, share, subscribe, follow. I think that's all the words, right? And also, if you didn't know, there's also a donation button at the bottom of the YouTube and at the podcast at the very, very end, and it's going to send you over to a PayPal link. So if you're interested in allowing this podcast to stretch even further, you might want to consider a contribution, and I'd greatly, greatly appreciate it. And of course, everything that we talked about today here is going to be linked in the show notes below. Personalizedtraumahealingsystem.com is up and running. All the videos, info, links, some FAQs, and some ways to get in touch with me, as well as the schedule for those free webinars. So I really look forward to working further with you on that. So before I log off for today, Here's a little bit about Trauma Survivorhood podcast and where we're going. So, coming next Friday, the 22nd, this is going to be our first interview back from summer break, and we're going to continue on with the mission of diminishing stigmas around trauma, sharing powerful, inspiring stories, and also, of course, bringing those tools and those resources to the community to ease them in their trauma healing journey as well. My heart for survivors remains passionate and purposeful. You being here to listen or watch, this brings me so much joy. So continue plugging in, subscribe so that you don't miss anything, share with your people, and remind the world the truth that healing is possible. Until next time, be well. Thank you for listening to or watching this episode of the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow. For any information that was discussed in this podcast episode, check out the show notes below. Until next time, be well.